The chandelier lights of the grand ballroom shimmered like fragile stars above us, reflecting off crystal glasses and polished marble floors. It was the annual company gala, the one night where promotions were whispered, alliances were formed, and reputations were either built or destroyed. I stood beside my wife Elena, watching her laugh too brightly at jokes that weren't funny. Something about her energy felt rehearsed, almost desperate. I had sensed distance between us for months, but tonight she seemed electrified. I didn't know then that within minutes, the music would fade, and my marriage would collapse in front of everyone we knew. When Victor Langston, the company's charismatic CEO, stepped into the ballroom, applause followed him like loyal servants. He was tall, impeccably dressed, confidence dripping from every movement. Elena's fingers tightened around her clutch. Before I could process what was happening, she slipped from my side and hurried across the marble floor. I thought she was greeting him politely, until she ran into his arms. Laughter turned into gasps as she wrapped her arms around his neck and kissed him, boldly, passionately, as if I didn't exist. The orchestra faltered but kept playing, pretending nothing had shattered in that instant. My heartbeat didn't race. It slowed. The room blurred, yet I saw everything with brutal clarity. Her red dress against his black suit, the stunned expressions of co-workers, the pity in a few sympathetic eyes. Victor didn't pull away immediately. He held her, savoring the moment like a king accepting tribute. Cameras flashed. Whispers erupted like wildfire. I should have exploded. I should have shouted. But instead, I straightened my tie, adjusted my cufflinks, and began walking toward them with calm, measured steps that echoed louder than the music. When I reached them, Elena finally noticed me. Her lipstick was smeared. Victor's confident smile faltered slightly as he recognized the man she had humiliated. I leaned in close to his ear, my voice steady and almost friendly. I whispered one line, "Check your phone." That was all. Nothing dramatic. No threats. Just two simple words. Within seconds, Victor's hand moved to his pocket. His expression changed as he read the notification. The music screeched to a halt mid-note. The conductor lowered his baton. A silence so thick settled over the room it felt suffocating. Victor's face drained of color. The board of directors stood at a nearby table, staring at their buzzing phones simultaneously. Elena looked between us, confusion replacing arrogance. What she didn't know was that 3 weeks earlier, I had discovered encrypted emails on her laptop. Emails that revealed not just an affair, but insider trading, fraudulent contracts, and illegal offshore accounts tied directly to Victor. My heartbreak had been real, but my response had been strategic. I had forwarded every document to the company's legal department and scheduled the email release to coincide with tonight's gala. The whispers returned, louder and uglier. Members of the board began walking toward Victor, no longer smiling. Security near the entrance straightened instinctively. Elena grabbed my arm, her nails digging into my skin. "What did you do?" she hissed under her breath. I looked at her for the first time that evening, really looked at her, and saw not love, but calculation. "I told the truth," I replied quietly. Across the room, Victor attempted to laugh it off, claiming it was a misunderstanding. But the evidence on their screens was undeniable. Signed documents, transaction records, digital timestamps. The head of compliance, a stern woman who had built her reputation on precision, stepped forward and asked Victor to follow her into a private room. He refused at first. Pride always fights before it collapses. 2 uniformed officers entered shortly after. Apparently someone from the board had already made a call. Gasps filled the hall as Victor's wrists were cuffed discreetly but unmistakably. The once celebrated CEO was escorted past the very employees he had manipulated. His eyes met mine briefly, filled with hatred. I simply held his gaze without blinking. Elena staggered back as if the ground had shifted beneath her. "You ruined him," she whispered. There was no apology in her voice, only fear for herself. That was the moment clarity pierced me deeper than betrayal ever had. She wasn't devastated about our marriage. She was terrified about what might surface next. "You ruined yourself," I corrected gently. The board's legal advisor approached her with a tablet. Apparently, her involvement was documented as well. Emails coordinating financial movements, messages planning tonight's public stunt to secure Victor's position before the investigation broke. The gala had transformed into a courtroom without walls. Smiles vanished. Champagne glasses remained untouched. The orchestra packed their instruments in silence. Elena tried to deny everything, her voice trembling now, not from passion but panic. She claimed Victor manipulated her, that she was just following instructions. But digital trails don't lie. Screens illuminated faces in cold blue light as guests read through the damning files. Every secret she thought was buried had risen to the surface at once, like bodies floating after a storm. She turned to me then, not as a conspirator, not as a proud woman, but as someone drowning. "Please," she whispered, eyes glossy. "You don't understand." I did understand. I understood late nights at the office that weren't about work. I understood secret passwords and hushed phone calls. I understood why she insisted we attend tonight, claiming it would be romantic. It wasn't romance. It was spectacle. She had planned to humiliate me publicly, cementing her alliance with Victor. What she never anticipated was that I had already prepared my own stage. Security approached her next. Not with handcuffs, yet, but with firm instructions not to leave the premises. The board needed statements. Lawyers were being summoned. The glittering ballroom now felt like a mausoleum. People avoided eye contact as if proximity to scandal might stain them. I stepped away from Elena, creating physical space that mirrored the emotional distance already carved between us. She reached out, but I didn't take her hand. The marriage had ended the moment she chose spectacle over loyalty. Outside, sirens wailed faintly in the distance. Inside, the head of the board addressed the guests with forced composure, announcing an immediate suspension of the CEO pending investigation. Applause did not follow. Only murmurs. Elena sat in a chair near the stage, her red dress now looking less glamorous and more like evidence. Mascara traced faint lines down her cheeks. For the first time, she appeared small. But consequences have a way of shrinking even the boldest performances. She finally looked up at me as officers prepared to escort her for questioning. "Why tonight?" she asked brokenly. I considered the question carefully. "Because you chose tonight," I answered. If she had betrayed me privately, perhaps things would have unfolded differently. But she had chosen public humiliation. She had chosen spectacle. So I allowed the truth to meet her on the same stage. Fairness, in its coldest form. As she was led away, the doors of the ballroom opened briefly, letting in a gust of cool night air. It felt cleansing. Guests slowly filtered out, whispering about promotions that would never happen and headlines that would dominate tomorrow morning. I remained standing alone under the chandelier. The silence no longer felt suffocating. It felt final. Pain still existed, sharp and undeniable, but beneath it was something steadier, resolve. I walked out of the building without looking back. Cameras from local media had already gathered, drawn by police activity. Flashing lights reflected against the glass facade of the company that had once symbolized stability in my life. By morning, the scandal would explode across news feeds. But my story wasn't about revenge. It was about dignity reclaimed. She kissed him in front of everyone. I whispered 2 words. And in that graveyard of silence, the truth buried them both.